Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. So today we are installing our doors or nets on the Gator 590i. Now, when you buy one, it should come with one, but we bought this secondhand and none of the nets were there. So let me show you what it's going to look like. Well, let me show you how I got there, because the instructions John Deere sends are some of the worst I've seen. I actually had to go to the parts diagram to look at where everything goes, and I still may not have it correct. Let me show you what it's going to look like. So I've done the passenger side, and as you can see, everything is nice and tight. So there's a few tips that you need to know. The first thing you install is you install these brackets here. Now they give you two left and two rights. If you notice, this piece goes up so that when you tighten it, these come up. Now there's two pieces I will not be installing because it's already installed on here. But let me show you what those are. And that is the front release brackets. And so it is the biggest of the bolts, the bigger washer, and the bracket. So now starting out, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to unbox everything and get it laid out. Now, this install is really easy once you realize what's going on. You're going to need a 13mm or a 1/2 inch ratchet and wrench, and then you're going to need the infamous 10mm ratchet. But again, you could probably have this install done in 15-20 minutes if you watch this video first. So let me show you the hardware. There's a few differences here. So mind you, this is only half the hardware. So the first part of the hardware is you have your bracket that's going to hold right up here on your B pillar, and it is the release for the back nets. You have these bolts here. So if you look at these bolts, you have two different sizes, and they're slightly different. You see this one's shorter, this one's longer. This is your 10mm, this is your 13mm. And then these bolts here are also your 13mm, and then you have some bushings, and you have some washers. Now on your washers, you have two larger washers, which go to these really large bolts here, and they slide on like this. Those are the washers that go on the front bracket. And then there's two smaller washers, and I already have them over there, that go into this B pillar mounts, like right there. So let's go ahead and let's get started bolting this up. For me, I like to start in the rear and work my way forward. So the first thing you have to do before you can start installing anything is figure out which net or which door is what. They are interchangeable right to left. As you can see, the big one is for the front and the smaller one is for the rear. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your bracket. Now these are interchangeable. They will fit on the right and left side. So what you want to do is you want this hump going forward. If you look down here, there's two holes right here and a third, and the same thing here, two holes and a third. That's why I say they're interchangeable. So this is going to bolt up those first two holes. So let's get that started. So now they got this first two on there loose. So I've got my net. I'm gonna start to thread everything on. Like so. I'm gonna take my last bolt. I'm gonna put this in. Now, let's see if the camera shows that. You see the head on that bolt? It's got the grooves right there. That's gonna stop it from backing out. And that's why I'm not using any thread locker. And this will just come like this. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna snug up all three bolts now. Remember, these are the smaller 10mm heads. Now these are torqued down to around 12 foot-pounds. I don't have a torque wrench with me, but make sure you do not over torque them. Once you get your bottom three in, you're going to take the longer bolt, just like this, and you're going to put a bushing on it. Then you're going to stretch your net out. You can go to your top bracket here, and go behind my seat belt, And there's already a pre-drilled hole with threads in it. So I'm gonna start it. You're gonna use your 13 millimeter or your 1/2 inch. You're gonna go ahead and tighten this one down also to 12 foot-pounds. Okay, so once you get the top one in, the next thing I like to do is the middle on the rear. And so this middle one is gonna use the actual bolts with a nylock nut and a washer. And it's gonna go right in here to this bottom hole. So it goes bolt with the bushing through the clip. You're gonna slide it in, and then you're gonna tighten this up on the back side. Also, you want the threads of the bolt on the inside so no one gets caught on that. And again, these are both a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. So the next step is probably the hardest step, and it's this clamp right here. So I'm going to skip that right now. I'm going to start installing the front net right here. So like I said, what I won't be showing you is you're going to take, there's one really big bolt over there, and I can show you. It's got a flat head, the big washer, and then the buckle right there. So you can go ahead and put that in. From there, we're gonna come right back down to this bottom, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna install this bracket right here. Let me show you the holes. So there's one hole there, the single, and then the doubles there. So let's get that done. So just like before, I'm going to hand start this. Get it tightened down. And then once again, we're going to feed our door through. 1, 4. We'll toss that. Hand start the last one. And again, snug everything back down to 12 foot-pounds. Now that I got the bottom installed, I'm going to install the next one right here. So out of the 4 holes, it is the bottom left. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to set this right in here, just like this. I'm going to put the bolt through, this behind with the bushing, and then the nut, and I will tighten that down. So I got the bolt, I got the bushing, and this piece right here, and the nut. Again, these are a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Just tighten this down. So again, this is the hardest part of this whole install. They come with a clamp, okay? The clamp, just like this, and there you go. This is how it's gonna go. This is, the bolt's actually gonna face forward. Now you're supposed to measure, there's a mark right here to the bottom of this, 11 inches. Now I'm going up a little bit higher, and that's a preference. So then, what you'll do is you're gonna take your bolt with the small washer, not the big one. Remember, the big washers go in the front. Then you're gonna take your bushing, your latch, and I'll slide over the bushing. You're gonna come over here. You're gonna take your seat belt, the top harness here. You're gonna slide this all through, and then your nut. So we're gonna tighten this down. So here I go. The reason I want the threads coming to the outside is, you know, you can whack your head on here. I didn't want any extra threads going towards the driver's head. And if you see, I can release this. This swings nice and free. So the reason I put this higher than a recommended amount was it helps this bottom piece catch the top. It'll keep the grandkids' feet in and the dogs in. So right now, from here to here, I am at 12.5 inches, where the instructions say 11. Then you can go ahead and tighten everything up here, and then your front, we can just go ahead and snug this stuff up. Snug it up back here. And there we go. So the net install on this John Deere Gator 590i is really simple. The hardest part is figuring out what bolts go where, because the instructions just aren't that good. Like I said, I went to the parts diagram to figure out which bolt was what. To make it easy, there's the 12 short bolts that are 10 millimeter, and they all go down there, holding the bottom of the nets. The 2 longer bolts come up here, and then the very 2 large black bolts come up here with the front releases. Don't forget the big washers come up here. Again, the hardest part after you figure out the bolts is just this clamp right here. But now this is nice and safe. It should have come this way, but the previous owner took it off. Now the install is done. Like I said, I previously did the passenger side. This whole install should take you 15 to 20 minutes once you unpackage everything and get everything laid out. So 30 minutes tops from start to finish. You need 2 tools. You need a 10 millimeter ratchet, a 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch ratchet, and then a 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch box wrench just to hold the nylock nuts. I hope you enjoyed this install. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and until next time.